You're listening to The Good Pod Guide. Today, I, your host Lauren Windle, am joined by my busy and fellow journalist Nat Barker, who over the next few minutes is about to try and outshine me so he can stage a coup and take over the podcast. Nice try, Nat. I'm not the only person who thinks he's really funny. Let me tell you a little story about Nat. A little while ago, right, he was doing a fantasy football league with his house, which is a house of blokes. And at some point, he was so far behind that it became apparent he was going to lose. So they all adjusted their football teams to have exactly the same team as him. No matter how the players performed, they would always move forwards by the same number of points, and he would always be at the end. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. So the way this came about was we had, at the start of the season, agreed that whoever came last would have to do 5 minutes of stand-up, a comedy open mic.
Yeah, I'm getting to that bit.
But I think it's important to mention that up front, because then otherwise the fact that they were doing that to make sure I came last makes no sense, you know? So, and then when it became apparent about 2/3 of the way through the season that there was no way I could catch up because I'm not very good at fantasy football, yeah, that's what happened. People who are almost last just changed their teams so that there's no way I could catch up.
Right, yeah.
And the rest is history.
So the penalty price, as Nat has already said, was that he had to do 5 minutes of stand-up at an open mic night. He did it down in Stockwell, and I was one of the few friends he invited to come because apparently I laugh loud, and he wanted people in the crowd to show vocal support for his comedy. Nat actually did so well that he won the open mic comedy night. True or false?
True, yeah.
Do you want to regale us with one of your jokes now?
No, I'm not going to do that. It wouldn't be funny now, would it? I'm worried about this because I think, you know, if you're listening to this, I think being told that somebody's funny kind of would make you think, I think you'd be like, I don't think he is funny. Prove to me that you're funny. I don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Prove to us all that you're funny. Make a joke.
No, it's all about context, isn't it? That's not how it works, Lauren. That's not how it works.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Well, if you were a true comedian, it would work that way.
I would just come. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's true. Wow. Okay, should we talk about a podcast?
What podcast should we talk about now?
I think we're talking about Arsehole Court, aren't we?
Yeah. Yes, we are.
The premise of this one is pretty simple. A group of friends, lifelong friends, take a controversial public figure and examine their history to determine how much of an arsehole they actually were.
I noticed that you're saying arsehole, even though it is American, so it's written asshole. I also have an aversion to saying the word asshole because I think that with a British accent, it just sounds so cringe.
It's jarring, isn't it?
It's so jarring. I think even though they are two different but very much related words, we should always translate it to arsehole.
Do you know what I mean when I say that arsehole sounds kind of stronger than asshole? It sounds kind of like more of a swear word.
Yeah, I think it does. It does. I think British accents make things sound sterner anyway.
I think you're probably right. But anyway, the name of the podcast is Arsehole Court. It's an American podcast, but we're calling it Arsehole Court. And these three friends, they give each subject a ranking from 1 to 11, 1 being Mr. Rogers and 11 being Hitler.
How would I rank in Arsehole Court, Nat?
Oh, very low. Very, very low.
How
no higher than 4.
I'm a 4.
No, that's a joke. Oh, 2.
I'm a 2.
No one's a 1.
What are you?
I'm probably higher than you.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah. I'm pleased that that's clear. You're definitely
6.
higher than me.
You saying that, I'm going to have to add another one on. That was a very nice thing to say. So you're up to 3 now.
No, sorry. That's why I'm not a 1. That's why I'm a 2. It's okay. My gentle.
I just don't think a 2. I don't think a 2 would say that. I think you'd be a bit more magnanimous.
All right. Okay, fine. I'll take my 3, but as long as you're a 5 or a 6. I like that we actually don't have any more info on the hosts other than that they're lifelong friends, and their names are Mike, Randy, and Buddy. Mikey,
Randy, and Buddy.
Yes.
Which I love.
Yes.
Real character names. It's like Ed, and Eddie or something like that, isn't it? It's you know, it's rare. I think it's quite a common phenomenon that American people find British stuff kind of quaint, and it's rare that it happens the other way around. But I think the idea of a podcast hosted by 3 lifelong friends called Mikey, Randy, and Buddy, where they just give people an arsehole rating on this kind of made up scale, is kind of quaint in a weird way.
Yeah, I hear you. I like it. Did you have any fave bits?
I liked the episode about Cardi B. That was a good one. I think she's a bit of a different character. Vlad the Impaler episode was also very funny. I recommend giving that a listen.
The Impaling wasn't so funny.
Well, I mean, I guess
that's why you're a 5 or a 6 and I'm a 2 or a 3.
Well, Vlad the Impaler is, he's enough time has gone by now that it's, I don't know, it's not as kind of fresh. I don't know,
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know that much about Vlad the Impaler beyond what I heard in the podcast, and they talk about it in a funny way. I discovered an Ask Me Anything Q&A on Reddit, I think, with the 3 hosts, Mikey, Randy, and Buddy, because like you, Lauren, I found it quite hard to find out much about them as well. It was weird to read. They seem like really, really nice guys. They're like replying to the people posting questions on there, and they're saying like, hey, thanks so much for your kind comments, man. I'm really glad you like the show. You're right. Insert name is a massive asshole. It's funny that they've got like these 3 very nice seeming guys who are kind of passing such stern judgment on people.
Yeah. I liked how they cover like obvious assholes like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, but they also do people who I think are like, it's like questionable whether or not they have asshole status or not. Like Ellen DeGeneres. Okay, so she's not everyone's cup of tea, but she's hardly like pure evil, is she? I also enjoyed their debate about how much of an asshole 2020 was. That's topical, good, good.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, I think so. There are around 60 episodes and they're each under an hour.
So it's manageable.
Yeah.
What I like about it is a fun listen, but I think there is also a kind of weird like value in it as well. I like the idea of interrogating common perceptions of public figures, particularly public figures who are kind of quite often sort of hate figures. I do think it will divide opinion a little bit. I guess the idea of 3 white guys sitting around kind of judging people like, for instance, Cardi B maybe might get some people out the wrong way. I think it's maybe not for everyone. I once heard somebody say that the collective noun for a group of 3 white men was podcast, which did spring to mind. Which did spring to mind when I was listening to this. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, I mean, it's well researched. It's decent entertainment. I was surprised because I thought from the title, which, by the way, if you're searching for it, is AHC in order to avoid having a swear word in the title. It took me ages to find it.
Yeah, me as well, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be really juvenile and not worth my time. It was still a little bit juvenile, but, it was better than expected. In the next episode, Nat and I get angry at the audacity of a 2.5-hour-long podcast as we review crime in sport. For more info on the Good Pod Guide, check out the show notes. Also, like, subscribe, and leave a positive review. It helps us beat that evil algorithm.